Isom number 2 has arrived, and boy, oh boy, is it cool to say that it happened within a year even. That's saying a lot because within the last year, you had the big warehouse change where him and his crew had to go from one warehouse to another. They had to wait on these unnecessary government bullshit regulations and whatever the works. I don't even know what it's called anymore. I'm just saying it's government related shit. More stuff to just make things more of a pain than they ever need to be. But lo and behold, we got the issue less than 1 year when I received issue one. That's saying a lot because, especially with like the Indiegogo Kickstarter movement, guys, this is something to pay attention to. This is a big deal. The fact that you had two books in less than 1 year. Big, big, big deal. But that all aside, let's get into a lot of the controversy. Last year, the amount of controversy around the comic was really just centered around the fact that this book had $3.7 million worth of money and success. That's really that this all is. If this book had been, I don't know, $200,000, maybe even like 10,000, the amount of complaints would have never been the way that it was. Seriously, I thought I was bad. I had some criticisms, even though I still enjoyed the book, like some of the action, the flow of movement, stuff like that. And now I'm like, then I see these art guys, oh, he's killing people, or they're interpreting his comments into threats. I was just like, what? I thought I was bad. I thought I was bad with some of the stuff that happened. I see these guys, I'm like, man, these guys are way worse than me. Damn! Like, holy fuckeroni, Batman. It happened, but all those complaints aside, it took way too much flack, honestly. Not just from people who didn't like it, but even from people who I'd say they even liked it. I feel like everyone just, it was too much hype. It was too much hype, and people weren't looking at the comic for what it was, simply a comic book. And on top of it, Eric July's first comic book. There's going to be errors, there's going to be things, and within time, there's going to be an improved craft. I did a video about this, 5 ways Isom 2 will improve over Isom number 1. And I can now say officially, after having read this issue, that Isom 2, you're going to find out at the end of the video.
As I suspected, 32 flavors.
Can we take a time to admire this amazing cover for this issue? This is drawn by Trinian and is covered by Brett Smith. And obviously, those guys did the first issue of the cover of that. This time they came back for issue number 2. But what I like about the cover so much more this time, it's very classic comic book looking. You have that top left corner where you have the issue number and the publisher, and they got like the words like first appearance of. Because, Eric has been very apparent about how he wants every issue to count, to matter, to feel like you're owning a piece of history. And I like to remember seeing like a lot of the old comic books, from the 60s up until the 80s. Maybe it was even a little bit in the early 90s where it's like debuting the fierce so-and-so, the menace of Mysterio, something like that. It was cool to see, the first, appearance of introducing. And you got that with this. And then find out here what happened with this. And you got here, find out why did Isom quit. So I love that look for the covers. I wish we had more comic book covers like that. It's a very cool thing to have that. Once again, it makes it feel like I have to own this. I need to see what's going on here. That's what you should be doing to drive people's interest. Once again, enthusiasm, interest, hype. This is a big deal. And to me, this cover is awesome. Not just because of the action going on, because of course the action's going with Chad Ryan and Isom going head to head, but dude, this is a cover of fucking covers. Taking place directly after the events of issue number 1, Avery Silman returns to town where he lives, where he runs his ranch with Sam Williard, the Silman Ranch, and he sees that not everything is as he left it in the previous issue. And this leads him down a whole other trail of things he has no idea what he's about to run into. This is saying a lot concerning that he already has the deck stacked against him with Darren Fontano. His run-in with Yaira and the Alpha Corps. Obviously, Antoine as well. The several encounters he had in the previous issues. Look out for Jasmine. Like, what's going on there? He's got to tell Miss Newman what's going on there. And he's got to make sure that his sister Altona is safe. Her daughter Vassie. Dude, this guy has just got more things on top of things on top of things. Man, Avery, this isn't just like a day in the life of, this is a week in the life of a complicated situation. Complicated situation. Well, other having an important story here about what led to Isom quitting. What made him decide to come back and be a superhero. And this story, while not an original idea, doesn't even matter because the way it's executed is heartfelt, and you feel the gut wrench in this one. It's a gut turner. This one was felt. Absolutely felt. So let's talk about this comic itself, shall we? For me, I kind of like think of this comic, I think of myself, well, it kind of reminds me a little bit like a Daredevil comic. Not in the whole like blind guy dealing with being a ninja and the whole law aspect, but more so in the idea that in the Daredevil comics, it's usually a very grounded setting, rooted in criminal underworlds, very about New York City, and it's part of New York City with Hell's Kitchen. And there's a sliver of like the mysticism in the background with the Hand per se. Now Avery Silverman has that. He has those crime bosses. You have obviously what lies underneath that he has to deal with later on. And most of his fights are against, random thugs. Once again, those are very Daredevilish traits in that regard. So that's what I got of it. And another thing I like to add is Flores Park, Texas. The world is greatly expanded upon here. You get an idea of more of the businesses around the area. You also know who more of the head honchos are, the crime bosses. You get an idea of what events come to town. So it really makes you feel like it's a really full, richer world, and we're getting more and more ideas of what this is about. So it's like, it reminds me of when the Marvel comics were expanding upon New York City, and granted, a lot of it's taken from real life aspects. And I don't know anything about Flores Park, Texas. I don't know how much of it's drawing from real life or just making its own thing, but I do like that it's adding to this world, whether it's the adding of the newer characters or the places in this world, random castles in the middle of nowhere. I love seeing an expanded world. I like the world building going on. It really makes me feel like I'm living in a slow to be rich universe. One of my previous critiques I had from Isom #1 was the action. At times, the action fight, there was like a panel or two missing, and it felt like almost like the order of the action movements did not feel at place for some parts. However, Eric and Cliff nailed it this time around. Gabe, of course, doing the coloring. These guys nailed it. The story of the action is told very beautifully. It's very fluid, and the movement is so like organic. How everything happens and takes place. It feels like something I'd see out of like a kick-ass superhero comic book movie. Like the way I'd imagine the flow of movement, it happens that way. And dude, it's a delight to look at. It's a treat to look at Cliff's pencils in this book because it feels massive and energetic, and it's monstrous too. There's a lot of action in this book. Trust me, guys, you're gonna be very satisfied with the amount of action because there's a huge load of it here. And also, Cliff's pencils are getting like better. Like they're getting better. And ironically enough, I feel like he shines at his best when he's drawing stuff that is swarmed in darkness. I know that doesn't make sense, but I feel like he really does. Like his whole city stuff of the Flores Park, the city of Texas type of thing in Flores Park looks all nice and bright and shiny, but there's something about when he has to do this whole other monster where, dude, he really elevates himself, and I love to see that. And Eric's handling of his characters are great. He's getting so much better, and he's getting better fast at this. All these characters not just have their own voice, but their own personality. Altona Summon, she's very vulnerable and guarded, and you got Bloodruth, and she's just very cold and mysterious. And I'm like, okay, we have characters here, and they are becoming fully fleshed out characters. I love to see that. And this comic does benefit from the added page count, as the story does not only just have more of said action, but more exposition going on, learning about all the little seeds that are being planted, saying, oh, what's going on here? Oh, what's going on there? And it leaves you with questions while answering some as well. So it's clear that the Rippaverse, Isom, all of this is being planted for the long haul, and I'm here for it. I'm fucking here for it. And another benefit to this issue, it truly feels like it's an Isom comic proper. Though it is issue 2, it feels like as if it's a #1 in a way, because to me, when I read Isom #1 in retrospect, it feels more like Rippaverse #1. And Avery and his supporting cast and his world around him, they really have so much more freedom when they have a story that is strictly about them first and what's going on in the background second. So, with that all said, this comic is great. And yes, it is an overall improvement from issue number one. And the fact that it's all happened within less than a year, I think, seriously, Ill Advised Part 3, I strongly feel like it's going to be a home run. Eric's getting better. Cliff is getting better. I feel it. I'm like, okay, if I could give the last issue like somewhere, I can't remember. I did somewhere between like 7.4 to 7.7. This is like a straight 8, 8.1. It's great. It's definitely recommended reading. Seriously, it's good. The only criticism I have this time around, and this is just a nitpick, I feel like some of the words during the narration, it felt like there was maybe like a word missing, or maybe it's just the way I read it. Maybe that could be a me issue. Maybe I misread it. I don't know, but if that's the worst of my complaints, guys, we're headed in the right direction with these books. So yes, go buy Isom number 2. If you were on the fence after issue number 1, wondering if it was going to be like a preview book or more of Rippaverse number 2, no, guys, it's an Isom comic, and it's got a lot of action, and you do get some answers. And yes, there's going to be more questions. We're here for the investment. We're here for the long haul. So go out, get on Rippaverse.com.
The cream of the crop!
Make sure you buy this comic. Oh, yeah.
Just because we're holding hands doesn't mean we're gonna take warm showers till the wee hours of the morning. You hear me?